Dr. Shim is a professor at Sacred Heart University and will speak about Korean culture and the economic progress over the past 60 years.
It's my real honor and privilege to be part of this wonderful tribute that Korean community as well as American community give by treat to Korean War veterans. And I call this one as a small tribute to the big heart. And you'll be surprised how Korea changed over about 60 years period of time. So this is all due to your hard fighting for the Korea and your sacrifice and those who are here in addition to those who could not be here. And I thank you bottom of my heart. Thank you very much. So I call it top 10 things to know about Korea in 21st centuries. And as you may know that we call it Hangang miracles now. Korea become number 11th economy in the world. From 1965, we have a gross national income of about 2.3 billion to over $1 trillion. And in terms of GNI per capita, in 65, around $100 to in 2012, $22,000. So it changes unbelievably, 261 times. And your contribution is every one of this success of Korea. And if you compare, just briefly, I'm not going to go through all of them. In terms of population, in North Korea, it's about 24 million people. In South Korea, about 48 million. So Korea becomes 72 million people living in there. According to these statistics, in 2011, North Korea, their GDP per capita is $1,800. South Korea is $32,400. So this is the difference between communism and democracy, how it makes a difference. It's just and in terms of on the right-hand side in the middle, the red is North Korea, basically. I'm not going to go through all of them. Life expectancy at birth in North Korea is about 69.2. South Korea is 79.3. So it's about 10 years older. So I'm going to move on. And as most of you already know, but even today, some of you says, well, does Korean has their own language? Yes, we do have our own language. We have a unique language and alphabets in Koreans. So it's completely different from Japanese and Chinese, actually. So, okay, as you may realize that there is so many number one in South Korea only. One of those one is world largest seller of smartphone, believe it or not. Steve Jobs at Apple turned around the world, but Samsung surpassed number of the phones selling in the world. Can you believe that? I think we deserve a hand for this one, actually. And your sacrifice and your contribution is, behind this one. And another one is the world's largest shipbuilding nation. Unbelievable. And number one producer of computer DRAMs, and world's largest steel companies there, Pohang Steel Companies, and highest internet connectivity now, according to recent statistic by CNN, about 87% connectivity in internet. It's just amazing. And third largest semiconductors, digital equipment, and I had a chance to visit LG factories. They have the largest LCD screen in the world right in the factory. Just unbelievable. And believe it or not, Korea didn't have any automobile industry. Now it becomes world's sixth producers of automobile. And you see many Korean cars all over the world, actually, not only in the US. And also, number four thing will be very religious people. And many of you think that Korean will be traditional religion, but shamanism, Buddhism, Confucianism. But actually, the majority of Korean religion will be, guess what? Christian now, yes. Estimated over 10 million Christians in the last 100 years. More importantly, the second largest center of Christian missionary in the world right after the United States of America. Once we known as a Buddhist countries and Confucianism, now we become second largest center of missionary in the world. And Korea, many people will say, oh, Korea will be a small country somewhere in Far East between China and Japan, but it's not a small country, 70 million people living there and 84,000 square miles. And believe it or not, current UN Secretary General is Ban Ki-moon is from Korea. And Korea has sort of, old but new, rich tradition but contemporary societies. And our civilization goes before 2333 before Christ. So we are not just remembered after Korean War. We've been exist way before Korean War. And it will be 4,346 years now. So it's not a copy of China or Japan. We have a unique history, culture, language, authentic food. K-food is very popular these days, as well as K-pop, and all this one becomes dominate. And we have Tripitaka Koreana, which is the world's first metallic typeface printing systems. And we have we have a lot of sports actually. We are great on soccer, and year 2014 there will be World Cup in Brazil. Korea is one of 32 countries who participating in World Cup. And we ranked 7th in 2008, ranked 5th in 2012 in London Olympic, and you never know what's going to happen in 2016. And we hosted the Olympic in 1988. Taekwondo and baseball is everybody's real crazy about baseball. And I don't know whether you can see the graph. That graph shows you how many medals they had it over the years. And Korea runs about 6th in the world in terms of gold, silver, and bronze, believe it or not. And we have a very rich culture, authentic food, and we have a high sense of, high respect and sense of seniorities. Many people pride of homogeneity, and we have a very popular last name, Kim Il-bak. You will be right if you say Kim Il or Bak, right? We have a taegukgi, and many of you know. National flower is mugunghwa, and Hallyu is dominating in the world these days in terms of K-pop, K-music, K-dance, and so on. Okay. And also, believe it or not, Korean is one of the largest diaspora in the world, actually. Korean American, we have, according to statistics, that's the world's 4th largest diaspora. All over the world, you name it, the Korean will be there. And Korean American is one of the largest among Korean diaspora, over 2 million people living in the United States, including myself. And I came here as a student, and I brought 2 bags when I came to the United States. And this is my 33rd year staying in the United States. I raised 3 children, one of those was married. I have a beautiful home, and I have a place to work. I'm so proud of being part of it, and as a Korean, as well as a Korean American, and as a part of American citizen. And this is all due to Korean War veterans. I really appreciate your contribution, bottom of my heart, actually. Thank you, thank you. So this just show you briefly what was the percentage. The majority in California, and then New York, New Jersey will be next, and then Washington and other areas. And this is just CNN in November 2013 did a top 10 about Korea. You guess it, wired culture. Country with a worldwide high 82.7% internet penetration, where we have a 78.5% of entire population is on smartphone. And the plastic, the credit card, believe it or not, Korean is the most country that use a credit card over US or Canada. Okay. So I'm not gonna, Korean is also known as a workaholic. That's why we have economic miracles. And business booming, right, well, I was in Korea in 2010, so right after work, almost 7 days a week, I have to go out with my colleagues and naturally come with the soju, beer, whiskey, these days known as a poktanju sometimes. So you need to learn how to do these things, actually. This is a CNN course, not me. And innovative cosmetics. There's so many people all over the world come to Korea to buy Korean cosmetics. I don't know what are the secrets, or ginseng or whatever it is. There's so many. We are exporting cosmetics. And then, the female golfers, it dominate, LPGA. We have StarCraft, the game, and the flight attendant, if you go to Asiana and Korean Airlines, the most beautiful men, ladies in there. We have excellent training. They get, excellent services. And Korea still continue to have a blind date. And Korea is the largest plastic surgery country in the world, believe it or not. So many ladies look alike, actually. I want to end by saying that I'm originally born in 1955. Am I look that old? But, in my family registry, I was registered in 1957. This is right after the Korean War. And I asked my parents why I was born in 1955, you registered 1957. So they waited 2 years. And it's unusual in today's period of time, but at the time, they have to wait whether I'm going to survive, first year or second year. First year, Korea was very hungry. They don't have enough food to, feed their children right after the war. And there's a disease going on. So our parents was not, rich family. So they had to wait 2 years that this guy will survive or not. So that's why we had to wait 2 years. And then, at the time in the war, in Korean War, all the men has to serve and fight it. So they don't know, another war will come or not. So they waited, and so whenever I teach at the university or when I see my doctors, officially I have to tell them I was born in 1957, but I was really born in 1955. So, that tells you Korea's situation in 1950s. They didn't know whether I would be surviving with the kind of food that they have, the kind of family that they have. But with your help and with your dedication, with your support, I'm here right in Hamden, teaching at Sacred Heart University and having families and enjoy my life. So I thank you again. I really appreciate your contributions. Nobody will forget your contribution. Thank you very much.